Welcome back to the deep dive. We have a really unusual stack of pages on the desk today.
Very different, yeah.
Usually we're tearing apart a new tech trend or maybe a management philosophy, something like that. But today we are slowing things down. And I mean really slowing down.
Hmm.
We're looking at a set of excerpts from a text titled The Recognition of Presence and the Unfolding of Meaning.
Right.
Specifically, something labeled Episode 12, When Meaning Began to Reveal Itself. And I have to be honest with you, right off the bat, when I first read through this, I felt frustrated.
Frustrated, that is an interesting reaction. Usually people feel calmed by this sort of thing. Why frustrated?
Because it's so quiet, it's dense. I read the first paragraph and I had to stop and just stare at the wall for a solid minute to process it.
Mm.
It feels less like an article and, I don't know, more like a riddle.
That is actually the perfect mindset to be in for this. This isn't a 5 steps to fix your life blog post.
Clearly not.
The source material we are diving into draws heavily from the context of the Devi Bhagavatam.
Okay, pause. We need to define that before we go any further. I saw that name in the notes, but for everyone listening who isn't a scholar of ancient texts, what are we dealing with here?
Right, so the Devi Bhagavatam is one of the key texts in the Shakta tradition of Hinduism.
Okay.
In simple terms, it's a text that places the Divine Mother, the goddess, at the absolute center of the universe. It deals with power, creation, and transformation.
I see.
But the specific excerpts we have today are focused on a very subtle, almost psychological moment. It's exploring what happens after a prayer is answered or, after a call for help is made, but the result isn't what you expected.
And that's the hook for me. That is the tension. We all know that feeling of asking for help, whether you're religious and praying or just stressed out and calling a friend or, shouting into the void because your computer crashed. You want an answer. You want a fix.
Of course.
But this text asks a question that honestly scares me a little. What happens when the answer arrives, but it's completely silent?
That is the crux of it. We are conditioned to treat the universe or even our mentors and bosses like a vending machine.
A vending machine?
Yes. You put in the coin, which is your prayer or your complaint or your hard work, and you press the button.
Right.
You expect the product to drop immediately. You expect a result that looks like a solution. But this text is arguing that response works more like a thermostat than a vending machine.
Okay, walk me through that. A thermostat.
Well, a vending machine gives you a distinct object to consume. A thermostat just changes the environment you are standing in.
Yeah.
It's invisible. It's silent.
The atmosphere just shifts.
Exactly. The text describes a phase where presence has been established, but understanding unfolds slowly.
Yeah.
It is a dive into that gap between seeing a form appear and actually understanding what it's doing there.
Presence has been established. So something has entered the room. The text opens with this line: after response has taken form, meaning does not rush to explain itself. And I have to say, that feels rude. If I'm in crisis, if I've called out for help, I don't want presence. I want an explanation. I want to know why this is happening and how to stop it. Why is the text advocating for silence here?
Because explanation is often a distraction. If you're in a burning building, do you want the firefighter to stop and explain the chemical composition of smoke to you?
No, I want them to put the fire out.
We will get to that.
Yeah.
But first, the firefighter has to enter the room. And that entry, it changes the dynamic. The text says balance has shifted.
Okay.
Think about it in terms of physics.
Yeah.
If a massive object enters a room, the gravity changes. If a CEO walks into a chaotic meeting, the energy shifts before they even speak a word.
Right?
The text is telling us that the response to our call is primarily about presence. It's about being there.
But the text describes the observer's experience in a way that sounds incredibly anxious. It says, those who witness this form sense intention, but they do not yet grasp its full purpose.
That's a terrible place to be.
It is. You know something is happening, you know there's an intention, but you're in the dark about the game plan.
It is uncomfortable, yes. But that discomfort is necessary. We usually conflate intention with instruction. We think if there's intention, there should be a bulleted list of directions following it.
Right, a memo.
Exactly. But listen to the specific attributes the text lists regarding this silence. What does the response actually do?
It says, the response does not speak. It does not clarify. It simply remains.
It simply remains. That is such a powerful statement of stability. In a moment of crisis, when you are calling out for help, usually everything is chaotic. Everything is moving, shifting, falling apart. And then the response comes, And its primary characteristic is that it stays. It doesn't clarify the chaos. It just holds its ground within it.
So you're saying that true meaning, or at least the kind of deep meaning the source is talking about, it isn't an explanation, it's an anchor.
Exactly. Or a reference point. Imagine you are lost at sea in a storm. The waves are tossing you everywhere. Suddenly you see a lighthouse. The lighthouse doesn't stop the storm. It doesn't scream directions at you. It doesn't teleport you to shore. It just remains. And because it remains, you can orient yourself. That is what presence does.
Okay, I can buy that. I can see the value in the lighthouse. But then the text takes a turn that I really struggled with.
Yes.
It moves from this idea of presence to a demand for work. It shifts from relief to responsibility.
It's a pivot point.
Read this line. What had once been called for relief now asks for discernment, and then what once sought resolution now invites responsibility. I have to push back on this.
Go on.
If I'm the one suffering, if I'm the one calling for relief, why on earth is the gift of this presence more work for me? That sounds like a bad deal.
It sounds like a bad deal if you want to remain a victim of your circumstances.
Ouch. Okay.
Really, think about it. Called for relief. That is the state of someone who wants to be saved from the situation. I am drowning, pull me out.
Right.
But this text, drawing on that Shakta tradition of empowerment, suggests that the response isn't here to carry you. It's here to wake you up.
So it's not a rescue mission.
It's a partnership. If the response just fixed everything, if it provided immediate resolution, you would learn nothing. You would remain unchanged. By offering presence instead of resolution, the response invites you to step up. It says, I am here with you. Now use your eyes. Discern what is happening.
It changes the waiting game. The text says the moment is no longer about waiting. It is about perceiving.
Yes. When you are waiting for relief, you are passive. You are checking your watch. You are looking at the door. You are helpless.
Right.
When you are asked to perceive, you have to engage. You have to become an active participant in your own rescue. The response has arrived, so the waiting is over. The work of understanding has begun.
But isn't that exhausting?
Of course it is. Growth is exhausting. Understanding is harder than being saved. But it's also the only way to actually move forward permanently.
All right, so let's say I accept this. I accept that I have to do the work. I still have this laundry list of expectations for what help should look like. And the source material just brutalizes those expectations.
It really does.
It gives us a very clear anti-list. It tells us explicitly what this response does not do.
It is a reality check. Run through the list.
Okay, number one, it does not remove every challenge. Number two, it does not promise ease. And number three, which is the one that really gets me, it does not dissolve complexity.
It does not dissolve complexity. We live in a world that is obsessed with hacks.
Oh, yeah.
We want the simple answer. We want the tweet-length solution to our marriage problems or our career crisis. We want the Gordian knot to be cut. But this text says, no. The complexity remains. The messiness of life, the difficult nuances of your situation, they are still there.
So if it doesn't remove the challenge, and it doesn't make things easy, and it keeps things complex, I'm going back to my earlier point, what good is it? Why should I be happy about this response?
Because of what it does instead. The text offers an alternative. It says, instead, it rearranges the field in which action will occur.
Rearranges the field. That sounds poetic, but what does it actually mean in real life? Can you give me a concrete example? Because right now I'm picturing a soccer field being tilted sideways.
Let's use a video game analogy.
Yeah.
I think that works well here. Imagine you are playing a game and you're stuck in a pitch-black room. There are monsters everywhere, traps on the floor, and you keep dying.
In there.
You shout at the game, help me, kill the monster.